and we're going to go ahead and get started. So good to see you. Happy Wednesday. We're going to go to, I'm sorry, wrong button. Okay, here we go. Pay attention, MD. Right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead to our PowerPoint and we're going to get started for today. Today we're going to be looking again at the listening test. Okay, and hopefully we'll have time to practice again with a partner for both the lecture and the conversation. We're going to talk a little bit more about taking notes and making sure that we're picking up the main ideas and being really clear about that. Okay, so it's so good to see you. Happy Wednesday. Here we go. All right, so like I said, we're going to go back over some of the key points about the TOEFL listening test, and we're going to make sure we're clear with that. And then we're going to go over some tips for being successful, just some suggestions, okay? And then I think the most important thing is for you to have time to practice and to practice taking notes. So I want to make sure that we get to that time, and I want to make sure that you get to the time to practicing with your partner. Okay, we're gonna go over some of these key points just as reminders, and then we're gonna go from there to go right into the practice. Okay, and sorry, right? My computer is being funny today. Okay, so remember that this is a judgment-free zone. So remember, you're here to practice and to do your best. And if you're feeling like your partner speaks English better than you do, or you're worried about that, please put it aside. You're here because you want to learn and to practice. So let's just use this hour to do that, to ask questions if you need to, and to help each other be successful in this particular section, okay? This is our last day to talk about the TOEFL listening test. Next week, we're moving on to the GRE, okay? So we spent the first four classes talking about the speaking test, the next two classes talking about the listening test, and then next week, we're gonna move on to the GRE, just as a heads up, okay? So just some really basic reminders and some corrections. I have to correct myself. Give you the wrong information, but let's see here. So just some basic reminders about the listening test, okay? It's there to measure your ability to understand conversations and lectures in English, okay? So maybe it seems really stressful to have to take this kind of test to be successful in an academic program in the US, but it is mirroring what happens in the US, okay? What you would have to do in an academic program here, okay? So just use it as a practice. Just use it as a way to get ready for next year, okay? For your studies, all right? There are 34 to 51 multiple choice questions. And I said last week, and I have to update myself, I said that there are 4 to 6 lectures, but actually there are 3 to 4 lectures. They did change it in 2019. So I was listening to something this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, I told them the wrong information last week. So just pay attention to that. It is a little bit shorter of a section because they did update the test, I think maybe in the summer months of 2019, okay? So the lectures will still have 6 questions after them, but the number of lectures will be shorter, okay? And also you will still have 2 to 3 conversations with 5 questions each. The conversations are usually centered around what happens on an academic campus here in the US, all right? Usually between a teacher and a student, or an office worker and a student. Or someone who works on campus and a student, all right? They're trying to mirror what actually happens here on campus in the US, all right? So, and the other thing that I said wrong, and we'll correct myself, is that it's actually 41 to 57 minutes long. So a little bit shorter of a test because they took out those 4 to 6 lectures. so that the time frame is a little bit shorter, just so you know. This was also updated when they updated the information in 2019, okay? So I'm sorry for my errors with that. All right, so I just want to go over the types of questions that you might have and to think about how they might show up on your test, okay? So remember that there are 6 different types of questions. And in looking at the 6 different types of questions, it's just going to give you a better sense of what type of question you need to be prepared for. All right. So we went over this last week. Remember that GIST questions are going to ask you, what is the main idea? What is the main purpose of this listening? Okay. So it's going to ask you, what is the listening mainly about? Or what's the main purpose of the listening? Okay. This question is almost always the first question after the listening. All right. So if you're taking notes, if you're trying to pay attention to your notes and you're trying to write the main idea right away, you're going to write down the main idea because they're going to say it right at the beginning. And you're going to know that when you get to the questions, it's going to be the first question that they ask you about. All right. So just keep that in your mind, because that will maybe calm you down to get ready for the questions. And you'll know right away that you already know where the first question is coming from. Okay. Just as a reminder. The next type of question that they might ask you is called the detail question. Remember that they're not going to ask you one small little detail that they only mention one time, okay? They're going to mention a detail that they mention quite often, all right? So according to blah, 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 what is, and they're gonna ask you about something specific, all right? But remember, it's not gonna be some small point. It's going to be something that is brought up again and again during the lecture, all right? Then we're going to move on to the function questions, all right? And the function questions are going to ask you, what does a certain phrase mean in the context of the lecture, all right? So they might ask you to read or listen to something again, and they're going to say, what does the professor mean when he says blah, blah, blah? What did the student mean when they brought up blah, 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 okay? So just being aware of that, you know you need to pay attention to specific meanings in context, okay? And then attitude questions. These are also common on the TOEFL listening test. They're going to ask you, what does the student think about whatever the topic is, or what is the professor's attitude about? And they're going to ask you to choose that correct answer, all right? So you're going to listen for, does the student support this idea? Does the professor believe in this idea or not, right? And you're going to try to find that information to be really clear about when this question pops up, all right? So there are 2 more types of questions. The next 2 are organization questions, which means that they're going to be asking you about how the lecture is structured, or how the conversation went, okay? So just paying attention to that, they might say, why does the professor mention blah, blah, blah? It means they might have made a reference to it right before that, and they needed to give an example. Or they're trying to make a really strong point, and they need to give you more details about that, all right? So they're asking you, in what order did the conversation happen? Or in what order did the lecture happen, okay? So just be aware of that, because that's also going to pop up when you're in the TOEFL listening section, all right? Or why does the professor discuss whatever it is, all right? And then finally, you're going to have to connect content. So these are going to ask you to make conclusions or draw conclusions from a graph, or make conclusions from what has already been said, all right? So they might ask you, what is the likely outcome of whatever it is, all right? So you're gonna have to take that information and see where they made a conclusion about that and connect that together, okay? Is everybody okay with the types of questions? You're right? Yeah? Okay. And just by knowing the different types of questions will give you a bigger picture of what you need to get ready for. All right. So that means when you're taking your notes, you're going to think about, I'm going to go back. Oops. I'm going to go back. When you're taking your notes, you're going to think about what's the main idea, right? So when I'm taking my notes, I want to make sure I pick up that main idea, right? And then I'm going to think about when I'm taking my notes, what are they mainly talking about? What details do they keep bringing up? I better take a note on that. Okay, I better pay attention to that. All right. And then when it talks about different function questions, why does the professor say this? Why is this phrase used? All right. I'm going to think about why they were in support of, why they were saying they were in support of, why are they using these different phrases to support whatever it is, okay? And then attitude questions. When you're in the conversations, usually the student says that they are in support of something or not, or they like an idea or not, right? So you're going to try to feel or listen for whether they're supporting it or not. You pay attention to that, and then you know when that question comes up, it's going to be easy for you to answer. Or what is the professor's attitude about whatever the topic is? All right. They will be giving you these hints during the lecture. They will be giving you these hints during the conversation. And finally, thinking about the organization questions, you're going to, when you're taking your notes, you're going to be organizing your notes in order of how the information is presented. All right. So in looking at the organization, you can think about, well, why did they mention this idea here? Maybe they wanted to give more information about it. Maybe they had a really good example, so then they gave it in that particular section, okay? And finally, they're going to ask you to connect content, all right? So having a good organization in your notes will show you how one thing happened after the next, but connecting content will help you also to make those connections and quickly find your answer, okay? So I just want to go over some of the note-taking tips that we talked about last week, and then think about what's the best way for you to take notes. Remember, I'm just making suggestions when we're here during class. You are welcome to practice different ways to take notes, or to simply listen and then try to write down the main ideas. But these are my suggestions. And these are maybe ways that will help you pull out the key points while you're listening. However, if this doesn't work for you, then you have to use this time to practice and find the best way to work for you, okay? So one idea is to write as you listen. Some of my students have complained to me that they're better listeners and then they can write the ideas down afterwards. If that is you, please continue to do that. If that's not you, then I would encourage you to write down the notes as you're listening. Okay, so you're going to start to pull out the main ideas if you can. Okay. Remember, right at the beginning, the lecturer or the professor is going to say what the main idea is. Okay, I'll say that again. They're going to say it right at the beginning. Today, I'm going to talk about blah, blah, blah. And they might say right away, and these points about it. All right. So if you were taking your notes, you're just going to write that down very quickly because you know already what they're going to be talking about. And then your notes, you can add more information or details so that your notes are much fuller. Okay. All right. So you also want to think about what's the organization, right? So what did they talk about first? What was the main idea? And then what did they talk about first to support that main idea? What did they talk about next to support that next idea? All right. Even if you simply jot notes and are able to read those notes and get a sense of what happens in order, it will help you when you go to answer the questions for the listening. Okay. And then take notice of important vocabulary. if the lecturer keeps mentioning a word and you do not know that word, okay, you should try to just write down however you think it's spelled, all right? And try to write down what you think the meaning is, all right? So maybe you think, oh, MB, I can't, it's happening too fast. I can't pay attention to all of that. What you can try to do during practice is just try to pick up those words and try to write them down so that you have some sense of when it comes up in the question, okay? If there's another word that you feel like is like that word, you can also write that in your notes to help you have a quick reminder and a quick connection to whatever information you have from before so that you can use that when you're answering the questions, all right? Also pay attention to who says what. Remember that during the conversations, it's usually two people back and forth, okay? So you want to think about who was in support of, who is not in support of, and who says the opposite, okay? And you want to see how they go back and forth. If it's simply writing in your notebook, the professor and student, and taking notes that way, you can do that just to help you visually to organize your ideas, right? And then I would also encourage you to listen for transition words. Transition words in English, we use them both for speeches and for reading. So they are helping the reader or the listener to pull out the main ideas. And by doing that, you can clue yourself in. Oh, right, she's going to make the next point now. Or right, I heard some details added to that, okay? So you can train yourself to pay more attention and to by listening for these transition words, to be more aware of what idea is coming next, all right? Remember, you have such a short time for the listening. So if you train yourself to do these things and train yourself to organize your ideas, it will help you when you answer your questions, all right? And finally, if it helps you, is to use symbols or simplify your notes in some way, all right? Remember that you're not going to be able to write down every word, of course, okay? So whatever shorthand, we call it shorthand, whatever shorthand helps you or makes it simpler for you to write your notes, please do that, all right? If drawing symbols, if drawing a picture, something like that will help you, please do that if that's the best way that works for you, okay? Okay, so think about last week, and we were working on taking notes last week. Think about how did you do with your note taking? So last week we were able to listen to one lecture as a group, and then you were able to listen to a conversation with a partner. Would anyone like to share, how did you do with your note taking?
I listen and I write it down so I won't forget some things. And it was okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a little bit long, my notes.
Okay.
I think they can be shorter.
Okay. Thanks so much for sharing, Inara. Thank you. Anybody else want to say?
Hi. For me, the most important help the notes gave to me was when we have detailed questions, because it's very hard to remember details. And sometimes you don't understand the word very well. So we write down something similar, and then with the context, we can deduce what the person said.
Right.
So on the weekend, I tried to do a listening test, but without taking notes to compare. And I think the notes are very helpful, yes.
Good job. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else want to say?
I'd like to do a question. Last class, you recommend to us a site where we can, I believe it was a YouTube channel that has classes, but I forgot it was open something, I forgot.
I can put it in the chat for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I have another handout for tonight, and I have it on there. Okay. Yeah. Good question. If we have time, we can explore some of those together, just so you have an idea of what I'm suggesting, right? Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Another thing that I don't know if this is for everybody, but I'm a lawyer. I'm not from the science field. So for me, it's easier when the listening is about something, a history topic or something like that. Right. But I believe I would like to listen some classes in biology, things like that, because I know that my vocabulary, I don't have a detailed vocabulary about that, and I get lost easier. Maybe if you are in a science field, you should do the opposite, listen classes in literature or something like that. I don't know if
well,
it can be helpful.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. So I also have some suggestions of some shorter tests that you can practice with the listening in a different field. So if science is not your thing, there are some science topics. There are also a couple other suggestions of, maybe history or different humanities topics that might be good to practice with. Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I'll point those out at the end. Okay. Any other thoughts?
I especially like the suggestion to use multiple columns if you have more than one speaker. I think this is quite helpful in dialogues.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah.
I usually put A or B to try to distinguish who is speaking about that.
Yeah. Whatever works for you, right? Whatever works for you. Yeah. Okay, so thinking about tonight or this afternoon, what would you like to work on in terms of your notes or in terms of your listening? I want to maybe set an intention for you. Everyone can set a different one, but what would you like to practice today? Do you understand my question?
The GIST questions, the first ones, because sometimes I'm too literal, and I know what the topic is. I don't have trouble at the listening part, but when they give me the question, I will say, oh, but it can be this and can be that. I get a little bit lost.
Okay.
At the first one and the second one questions.
Okay.
The GIST one.
Yeah. So the word is gist, not gist. Gist. Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know.
No problem. Yeah, good point. Right. So maybe Inara, for you, you want to pay attention right at the beginning, right? You want to see if you can write down whatever the key points are right at the beginning, because they're going to say it. They're going to say kind of what they're going to talk about. All right. So see if you can catch it. Maybe try to really focus right at the beginning to see that. Just an idea. Yeah. Any other thoughts? So the reason why I'm asking is you might use this time to try to write your notes in a specific way. So you might really write out the main idea at the top, and then try to organize the main points from that topic in your notebook. You might try that, okay? Or like Andre said, if you want to organize who says what and really practice doing that today, I want to make sure that you have practice time and think about what happened maybe last week when you practice, and think about maybe if you want to try something different this week, okay? This is your time to really perfect those skills and have time to talk to your partner about what works best, okay? Another suggestion, and it's for you to try, but I don't suggest it, but some students say, like I said, some students just want to listen and then they want to try to answer the questions and see if that works best for them. So you're welcome to try that too. I would say the lectures are quite difficult because they're giving you specific vocabulary words and you might miss the whole thing if you're just listening. But if you want to give it a try, I suggest trying it today, and then that will help you have a better sense of if that's something that's going to work for you. Okay. So use this time with your partner to really practice and to really think through what's the best way for you when you're taking notes and what's the best way for you to get the correct answers when you're taking the listening part. Okay. Everybody okay? Okay. So what I thought we could do is go off with your partner, and I'm going to give you a link for a lecture. All right. And then you can listen to it together. And then like we did last week, we listened together and then we answered the questions together. This week, I'm going to allow you to go off with your partner and listen to the lecture together and then answer the questions afterwards. Okay. You might also compare your notes before you start the questions if you want to try that. So just see if you pulled out the main points. Okay. And so we'll do that with a lecture, and then we'll come back and just check in. And then we'll go into the conversation and see how you do with that today. You'll also have time to practice that, okay? And remember, really just use this time to really practice. And if you want to talk to your partner afterwards and think like, you know, I missed that point, or what, I wonder why, you know, they said this and I didn't hear it, or whatever it is, please try to talk it through because they might have some good suggestions for you to pick up the key points, okay? Everybody okay? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to share with you what it looks like for today. The link that I'm going to share with you today. All right. It's going to be from Best My Test. Last week we did lecture number 1. We're going to try lecture number 2. Okay. I'm going to send you the link. Once you push start, you can't stop it. Okay. So just wait until everybody's ready. I mean, you could refresh your page and start again, but you can't stop the lecture in the middle, okay? And then like last week, it will go right into the questions, okay? And then you can choose the answers and see if you got it correct, all right? So just try that. Try to practice with your notes. If you want to try a new way tonight, please do. If not, you want to stick with really practicing the same way, please do that, okay? Then once you check your answers, you're going to come back. We're going to come back and just discuss it together, see how you're doing. And then we're going to try one conversation again with your partner. And then at the very end, I just want to make some suggestions for you, okay, to try. All right. All right. So I'm going to put this link in the chat for you. Okay. And I'm going to send you off with a partner. Good luck, do your best, and just see how you do today, okay? Here we go. And I didn't push it, there we go.
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, there we go.
Let's listen.
So we'll be listening to the audio through that link. And after they finish the audio, there will be some questions that we'll try to answer.
Okay.
We'll try to take notes while we listen. And try to maximize from then the information that we'll probably use while answering the questions.
Yeah.
I was telling Andre that I was absent last class. I couldn't be, so I'm a little lost.
Okay.
I'll try.
Yeah.
I will try.
Yeah.
So
Let's listen.
yeah, we're just reviewing and practicing what we did last week. Okay.
Okay.
So just see if you can try it out for today. And then the notes from today, you can practice on your own. And right at the end, I'm going to tell you some resources that I recommend just for practicing in general. Okay.
Okay.
Just see how you do. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
You okay?
That's okay, MB. That's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. Good luck. All right.
Yes. All right.
You too.
Thriving in these actually make up nearly 95% of all fish species in the Southern Ocean around that cold continent. That kind of thing is a stark contrast to tropical oceans, where the biodiversity is extremely high. When you think of a tropical reef, for instance,
together, the average coral reef supports over 4,000 types of fish, sponges, crustaceans, and others. To have one species of fish in an entire section of the ocean, pretty impressive. Yes, Amy?
How or when did...
Now.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna try to push play here. And everybody listen, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yes.
So go.
You
Are you hearing?
you're wearing the the phone.
Listen.
The ear.
Because of your headphones, Inara.
Yes.
Oh! I did wrong.
That's okay.
Oh my God.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Okay, what I have to do right.
So can you listen today without your headphones just for this section?
Of course.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
perfect.
And then they can hear. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. So let's try again.
I don't know what's happening. It's not working.
It sounds like a machine wash.
Yes.
You know, when you're
most of them are pretty small. However, fish species can weigh up to 150 kilograms. These fish can be identified by their huge eyes, insulated with a layer of thick, transparent protective tissue. This kind of tissue
Southern Ocean that have not been discovered yet. We imply that there may be fossil evidence of coral reefs in the Southern Ocean. No hard.
Yes, I think this is maybe the hardest one yet. 4,000 species. So it's about the intent of the professor. What
I'm just checking in. You two doing okay? Yeah?
Yes, I listen to.
Okay. Okay.
Recording progress again. Okay.
Hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
Yeah, we just finished the
first one.
the first. And Lavinia was almost 100%.
Yeah.
I was just reading for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one was really difficult to take notes, and because of the topic.
A lot of information, very quick to make notes.
Right.
Yeah, it was quite difficult.
Yeah. And the professor talked very quickly, I think, and expected you to pick up the information quickly. Yeah. Yeah. So did you try anything different with your note taking this time?
Yeah, I did change a bit. I tried to be summarizing more and only taking notes of information that he repeated during the talk, because you didn't mention if the information is important, he's gonna repeat it, and it's true.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
But this one in special, he did not repeat. He only mentioned once.
Right.
And I got past and didn't understand.
You know what, Lavinia? I think I got that one wrong too, because I didn't catch, because I took notes as well and I didn't catch what the point was. Yeah. Difficult question. Yeah. Kind of really small, maybe not small detail, but it was harder to find the answer. I thought so too. Yeah.
And he also mentioned the eyes a lot of times, and they did put a question, mentioned the eyes, but it was incorrect, the information.
Right.
It was tricky.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. El Carlos, how did you do with note taking? Were you okay?
Yeah, I was trying to pay attention at the same time to make notes. I don't know the reason for it, but even when I was in first year, it was quite difficult to pay attention and to take notes. I used to put my attention on explanation, and after to write what I understood about the topic.
Right.
Especially because almost all my life I work with numbers. You know, it's quite different. I had to pay attention to get the main point and how to do that. And after, okay, I understood that and that.
Okay.
But this is a little bit different because making notes at the same time for me, for the reason I explained, is quite difficult. It's something I have to put myself a little bit more to be able to do.
Yeah, sure. And that's when you're here in class, you know, you're welcome to practice that and to kind of see how, or, you know, which ways will help you pull out the main ideas more easily, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to make some suggestions at the end, and maybe just listening to or practicing on your own with some different lectures will help you start to see the format, and then maybe help you pull out those ideas more easily. Okay. Yeah. So just use this space as, you know, as a practice and a way to improve on your note-taking skills. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. We're going to come back in 1 minute and just check in and see how people are doing. Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you soon. All right. Bye. Hey. How you doing? So welcome back. Just wait for everyone to come back, and we're just going to check in about how did you do? How was it? Okay, so this was a difficult lecture. This was a difficult lecture. And I took the same test, just so you know, before we had class. So I missed some points as well. And I noticed afterwards where I missed some of the key points. But would anyone like to share how did you do with taking notes today, or anything different, anything that you tried to change?
I tried to take notes in this notepad, but in the middle of the way, I stopped it and just listened. I couldn't follow.
Okay. Okay.
But we take 4.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, Luis. And that might happen, right? You might get so confused, like, what are we talking about, right? And you might have to stop and really just focus on the listening. Yeah. So that might really happen, right? So it's good to either practice that while you're here, or to be aware of that, so that if it happens, you can quickly shift your gears and focus on the listening. Yeah. All right. Anyone else want to say?
I tried to write the key ideas, but when I got to the questions, there are some that I didn't write down with as much detail as needed. I didn't quite remember as was taking notes at the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So it was a lot of information, right? On a topic I have no idea about, right? I personally have no idea about, right? Right? Nonothenioids, who's ever heard of that word, right? Right? Okay. Any other thoughts on today's practice as compared to last week?
This one is really harder than the last week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, when you're here, remember that you're trying to practice, and you are welcome to talk to your partner all the time, or to me, to ask for suggestions, or just say I'm having trouble with whatever it is, and we can try to help each other. I want to put the handout for today. It has some of the same information from last week, but I'm going to put it in the chat for you. And I always forget where it is. Okay, here we go. And I just also want to point out a couple of different things. So Chilia, you had asked about some of the links that I mentioned last time. And so I'm pretty sure, and I will double check this, but anyway, TST Prep is a website that's for TOEFL. I just discovered this week. If you go to, I can put this link specifically on the chat. But anyway, what it has is, like Chilia had asked, her background is in law, and maybe she doesn't know a lot about science. So this also has some short, it doesn't give you the full test, okay? But it gives you the chance to choose different topics here, okay? And then it gives you the quiz and only 2 questions. So just so you know, only 2 questions, because this is free, all right? So I liked these listenings because I felt like they were really clear. So you might try to practice with this, okay? And you might try to use this to just really practice and listen, listen for the key points, listen for how it's organized, just as a way to practice, okay? If you're really interested in doing something a little bit more difficult for practice, this is also on the handout at the end. I can also put these links at the bottom in the chat. This is from Yale University. It is all of their free lectures, all right? This is real. This is not just for the test, okay? These are real. So what you would do is you would view course. Let's say you want to know about the atmosphere, and then you would just listen to one of these lectures. They are very long. They're like the real lecture, okay? But I would suggest, if you want to get yourself in the habit of listening in English and trying to pull out the main ideas, you can start by doing something like this, all right? So you might take an hour of your time, if you have the time, and just sit and listen and see if you can take notes on what's happening, okay? On what they're saying, how they're organizing, what they're talking about, all right? Remember, right at the very beginning, just like in writing in English, right at the very beginning, they're going to give you the introduction. Here's the topic, right? And then they're going to keep referring back to the key points, all right? Next, I'm going to talk about this, right? And they're going to show you how it links back to the main idea, all right? If you can train yourself to hear that, then when you do the TOEFL test, it'll be a little bit more easier. It'll be a little bit easier, even if it's not your area of expertise, okay? So I suggest this. I'll put this in the chat as well. This is Yale University. This is another website that has free lectures. They're on many, many different topics, all right? You just have to click on the link and it starts to go into the lecture. It's up to you. And even if you're just, you want to say like, oh, MB, I want to try it, okay? Then just try it out for yourself and see how you do. If, let's think positive, next year, or how about when you come to school next year in the US, you need to be ready to do this, all right? You need to be ready to listen to a lecture and pull out the main points, okay? Teachers are going to expect you to do that, right? They're not going to say like, hey, like pay attention, right? They're going to expect you to sit in the class and know how to do that. So if that's your plan, my small suggestion is to start to listen and to practice listening to lectures, okay? And I'll put all of these in the chat so you have them. And this is just another one that has MOOCs on different topics. You can look right here, okay? They're a huge variety of topics. And what I would suggest, again, is just to train your ears. Train your ears to listen for these main points, to listen in English and pull out these main points. Even if your notes look really crazy and you're writing all over the place, that's okay. You're going to train yourself to how to pull out the main ideas, all right? In some of these, they have the transcripts as well. So you might be able to look back and look at the text and check yourself. Did I get the right information, right? Could I find the main idea, right? And that's a way to check yourself and see how your listening skills are building or not, okay? It's just another way to practice and make sure that you're clear about that, all right? Any questions? I'm gonna put these links in the chat for you. Any questions? No? You're being very quiet today? Yeah? Yeah? That's okay. These links are also at the, sorry, I think I put that in twice. These links are also at the end of the handout. I did put that in twice, sorry. So please make use of them there. Okay? Yeah? And like I said, if you get in the habit, maybe do it once a week right now if you don't have a lot of time. Maybe listen to one lecture and take notes on one lecture and try it, all right? As you get better, it will get easier to take notes and be really clear about what the main ideas are, right? It will also just give you some training and listening into how these lectures are structured, right? In English, we like to give it to you, we give it to you again and give it to you again, okay? So you just need to pay attention to those points and make sure you can pull them out, all right? Yeah? Okay. All right, so we're just at the top of the hour. It was wonderful to see you again. Next week, we're gonna be moving into the GRE, all right, getting ready for the GRE. So we'll be talking more about that. But please, if you have questions about the TOEFL, please let me know, all right? And if I don't know, I can try to find the answer for you, okay? Because we'll be together until another 5 weeks. So please let me know, all right? If you're coming to my next class, which is opening tonight, I will see you soon. If not, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next week, okay? Bye. Have a good day.
Bye, Andy.
Bye, Dinah. I'm going to see you again, right? I'll see you again. Yeah.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Andy.
Bye. See you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. See you.